Good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone to the delayed July board meeting. Appreciate everybody rearranging their schedules. Dr. Rollins had a really early prior commitment that he let everybody know about for the first change, and then I'm responsible for the second change. So if you got any questions about that, you can take that up with me, I guess. But appreciate everyone being here today, and you can tell the school's not started yet, so we don't have such a big crowd, but appreciate you taking time out of your schedules and being here today and making necessary adjustments to be here. Board, we've got the agenda for the meeting. Any questions or comments or changes? Dr. Rollins, do you have any changes?
Mr. President, the agenda would stand as presented.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Have a motion by Mr. Hutchinson, second by Mrs. Cook. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And you've also had the minutes of the previous meeting and our special meeting held on July 3rd. Are there any changes, additions, or questions about the previous minutes?
I'll make a motion, we accept the minutes as presented for the two meetings.
Second.
Have a motion by Mr. Luttrell and a second by Mr. Hutchinson. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And this is the time reserved for patron comments. Anyone has any comments, questions, or concern for the board or the district, you can come forward and state your name, discuss your concern. Just understand we can't take any action on it today, but we'll take your comments and proceed accordingly. Okay. This time we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. If everybody would stand and recite with us. Pledge of Allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So I want to take a couple of minutes before we get really started into the agenda here. I'd like to thank Kathy McFetridge, who's not here today, but I believe she served 26 years on the board. And I don't know that I've met more of a fierce competitor, a more compassionate person, and a more caring individual for Springdale schools, Springdale kids, Springdale administrators, her fellow board members, and obviously her family. So she's not here to accept a round of applause, but I'd like to give her a round of applause. Dr. Rollins?
Mr. President, I think the first item of business would be for the board to select a secretary-treasurer to assist the leadership team throughout the school year.
I would love to nominate Mr. Randy Hutchinson to serve as our secretary-treasurer going forward.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Luttrell and a second by Mrs. Cook for Randy Hutchinson to serve as Secretary-Treasurer for the school year. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Thank you, board.
Motion carries.
Look forward to
They're going to double my pay.
He gets a pay raise tomorrow.
putting Randy to work. All right. Dr. Morledge, if you would, please, come forward. I know you've got a list of announcements and just good information to share.
Good evening. How are you guys tonight?
Good.
Good. As always, I get to do fun stuff. And it seems like every year I come before you and I talk to you about another one of our Presidential Award for Excellence in Mathematics and Science teachers. And I am very proud to come before you again tonight to talk to you about one of the state winners. Again, we have a state winner, and it's Amy Sandy. Miss Sandy, would you come and join me? I'll tell you a little bit about it, and then I would like for Amy to talk a little bit. The award is teachers are nominated, they can apply, and they complete an application for that, and then they are selected, up to 3 people from a state, and then they go to the national and go through a similar process. So Amy is one of our 2 state winners, 2 this year? Okay. One of our 2 state winners, and I've been in her classroom, and she knows I keep going back because she's one of those teachers I can go in and go, okay, I've got more ideas to share with other folks. So, Amy, would you like to share just your thoughts for a minute with the board?
Well, I'd rather have a question.
Okay, you like a question?
You summed it all up really, really well. It was a big secret. I couldn't tell anybody. Couldn't tell my family. No, I could tell my family. Couldn't tell my coworkers. I couldn't put it on Facebook. They said everything had a little asterisk that said you're not an awardee until we say you're an awardee and you're in Washington. And so at the beginning of June, they sent emails about arranging travel. So we ended up, my husband and I went June 25th. And that's when I accepted the award, and we did the White House tour, and they spoiled us rotten with all kinds of great food and bus rides, and I was able to sit in on a federal White House STEM summit, which was just the most amazing thing. I would never have thought that I would be able to sit across from somebody who works in the Department of Education for the United States of America and have them listen to what I thought, what I saw, what our needs were. So it was just an amazing opportunity.
That's awesome. I'm curious, so what led you to, I mean, it's obviously there's some initiative on your part to do it. What led you to work on it? Was it a principal, a fellow teacher? I mean,
Dr. Stuman did nominate me a couple times. She nominated me once in 2012, and I had just had a baby, and I was like, I'm just not ready. I can't do it right now. And then every 2 years, they go through a cycle where an elementary persons, they celebrate elementary, and then they go to secondary. So we were in the elementary cycle, and I just felt like what we do here in Springdale needed to get out. What my kids can do needed to get out, and the way that they're thinking and what they're capable of needed to leave my classroom. So that really was the inner drive. So. And then I went to Arkansas, and then I was a state finalist. I think I was in front of all of you lovely people for that. And then went on to the national level and brought it home, I guess you could say.
Yes, you did.
That is great. That is great, Amy. I love your comments about sharing the work of your kids, and those kind of things really cause the patrons of our district to understand the great things that are going on in our schools, and we want to share that great information. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
We had several summer schools going on across the summer, some early in the summer, some in the middle of the summer, some are even happening now. But I wanted to bring to you a couple of examples of those, actually 3 examples of them. So the first one is Turnbow. Ms. Ferguson was not able to be with us tonight, but Ms. Washkowiak is here, as well as Kim Justice. So, Allison, Kim?
Okay, good evening. I want to give you just a little bit of background on our summer program. When we received our ESSA report, our accountability report this year, we had a lot of celebrating because we were in the 97th percentile for growth. And that means we got a nice payment, nice check, and have bought all kinds of wonderful books with that. But then when we looked at the report, we were in the 38th percentile under the school quality and student success component. And that was due to some chronic absenteeism issues. And when we looked at those students, it ended up that it was our Marshallese population was the highest group. And those kids also were our kids that were the highest group that were not reading on grade level. So those are 2 of the reasons that we targeted this group and targeted a certain area of our attendance zone where the majority of those kids live. So I'm going to let Kim tell you a little bit. She kind of had the big idea behind this, and she came to Stacy and I, asked if she could visit with us, and she shared her ideas, and we said, it sounds wonderful. Go for it. We'll make it happen. And she put the ball in motion, and I'm going to let her. We've got a few pictures that you can view as she's talking.
Okay, so our big idea was to promote reading all year long, and then we had a few other little goals as we went along. And the first one was to give out a book every week to build their home libraries. We wanted to show our students and parents that we cared about them all year long, working on the relationship piece. We also wanted to provide a lunch and a snack pack each week to help with their food insecurities. And we just wanted to provide experiences over the summer. So a lot of times these kiddos, when they come back to school and they say, what did you do over the summer? They don't have a lot to share. So that was another real big thing we wanted to do, is have some experiences for them to be able to write about and be able to talk about. So we had several activities that we did. Tech Hogs Robotics came and provided STEM activities for our kids for 2 weeks. They learned how to make slime and Play-Doh. That was a big hit. They learned how to make a paper rocket and launch that. Then we went to the Springdale Fire Station, the Springdale Splash Pad, and then yesterday we went to Locomotion, and 55 kids got to ride on a bumper boat or play putt-putt for the first time ever. They had never even gotten to do that, so that was a big hit. So we met for 6 weeks, 3 weeks in June and 3 weeks in July, and about 40 to 55 kids came at a time. So we also gave out over 350 books. That was from teachers giving that. Kiwanis gave us $720 to pay for our buses, and then our teachers chipped in with the rest. And our teachers were also our volunteers that came and helped staff this for us, because we were like, unfortunately, I couldn't do that by myself. And so we had like 10 teachers or staff members that would show up every week to help us out. So we are just really thrilled to get to do this. I'm really blessed that I have administration at Turnbow that would let me do this. And so Samaritan Community Center was the one that provided the snack packs. And then Springdale Food Services provided our free lunches. There's places around the district where you can go and have a free lunch. So
what were you able to do to impress upon these kids they need to get to school on time? That seems like one of the
right.
major
So I'm
problems,
hoping the relationships that we built this summer and talking to them, so if they're not there on school on time in the fall, I'll just be going back and talking to them. I'm now a counselor at Turnbow along with 2 other schools. And so we could hopefully, with our relationships, talk about that. And one little boy did say, like even coming to the summer reading program, he's like, will you come knock on my door because I don't have an alarm clock?
I was gonna ask you, so what was your turnout? And obviously, I think the pictures answered the question. They all came to the school, right?
Oh, we picked them up on the bus. I'm sorry, I wasn't very clear. So we picked them up on the bus. I'm sorry. Kiwanis paid for a bus, and we picked them up at Black Oak Apartment and Singletree.
So is them not coming on time, is it because they don't have alarm clocks? Is it because their parents don't bring them? Is it because they don't get on the bus?
I think it probably could be a combination.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you say, where our absenteeism?
So it looks like you had pretty good turnout, though.
We did. We averaged 40 to 55 kids was yesterday. So we were really pleased with that. And when they were getting off the bus yesterday, they said, are we doing this again next summer? And I'm like, sure. So hopefully Kiwanis will give us some money again. So anyway, but.
So that's pretty cool. I got volunteered to do the mobile library this summer, and I was telling Dr. Rollins about it yesterday. Getting out into those areas really gets you to understand what the population is that we and you guys have to manage daily.
Right.
But it was pretty unique because, I mean, there's kids that probably would have never gotten a book over the summer or had any kind of structured activity. So this obviously took it way a step further than
yes.
what I just did. But
Well, we
great.
kind of based it from that. We used to do the mobile library.
Right.
We've done that for the last 4 or 5 years. And I just wanted to do that experience piece with them was
That's a great idea.
the real part, so they could have something to share when they went back to school.
So on your, one of the statistics you gave, Allison, on the 38% percentile on, what was it again?
Well, it was chronic absences was a piece of that, but the title of that index is School Quality and Student Success.
Okay, and I know we've seen some charts that kind of give us an idea of what all's in there. So, as you've thought through that, as administrators and teachers, what's the goal? I mean, is it trying to move the needle from 38 to 45, or is it 38 to 68? I
Absolutely.
mean, what do you think?
Right. That is one of our goals. With our counseling program, we've been able the last couple of years to have some interns from the U of A that are in counseling, and that we've kind of started to make that a big focus. This past year they did, when children weren't showing up, chronic, they would make phone calls, make home visits. We'd pick kids up. We gave kids the phone number to school and said, if you missed the bus or whatever, call us. You know, we'll get you here. So we did some of those things to hopefully increase their attendance and the importance of getting up and getting on the bus, because all of these children have a bus that comes right by their house.
Yeah.
It stops there and waits for them. And like we had them picked up at 10 o'clock this summer, and you know, you wouldn't think 10 o'clock, you'd think, oh, most of them are out playing or whatever. No. There were a lot that were asleep, and they were knocking on each other's doors, and like Kim said, knocked on this one child's because he wanted to be there. We even had some kids that were in our zone and have moved out of our zone, but came this summer, and said, can we still come? Absolutely. Sometimes they brought cousins, you know, oh, my cousin doesn't go to school here, they go to Bayari. Can they come with us? And we said, if they are there at 10 o'clock on Wednesday morning, they can get on the bus with us. So we had they turned in a reading log. So every week they were expected to read and have it signed off, and that was their ticket to get on the bus, so that we could see that they were spending that extra time reading and putting those free books that we were giving them to good use. So hopefully we'll see that number, you know, improve, you know, over the next year or so, and because of those relationships. And, you know, we had our volunteers were anywhere from a kindergarten teacher to a fifth grade teacher. So we had, you know, just this wide range of teachers. Specialty area teachers came out too. So we're hoping by that, you know, those kids are going to see those familiar faces from the summer program, and hopefully they'll be able to get up, and if we need to get them an alarm, we'll get them an alarm and get them to school.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Beautiful job, ladies. Thank you very much.
As Dr. Rollins has taught us so many times, it's all about the 3 R's. Relationships, relationships, relationships. And building those relationships over the summer in a program like that will help them increase their attendance. That will help them through those relationships. We had a couple of other schools who worked with some people from the United States Department of Education. And if you recall, a few months back, we had Dr. Frances Frost from the United States Department of Education came to visit us. And she was very, very impressed with what she saw here, and that always pleases us because we like to think that we're doing right things. But because of her visit and because of the efforts of 2 of our principals, they went to Baltimore and learned from her, and we were able to implement another summer program. So Ms. Fink from Jones Elementary and Ms. Hutton from Elmdale Elementary.
Well, this was an amazing opportunity, and really it started with Jones. Last year in the summer, she had a great family engagement program where not kids came to summer school, but the whole family came to summer school. And Dr. Bridgeforth and Melissa thought that it was great. They thought maybe they'd want to expand it for the next year. And so they talked to me about maybe, do we want to do this program? And so I said yes, and then something else came up, just like Kathy was talking about. Dr. Bridgeforth found out about the Family Engagement Summit that was in Baltimore at the Teach to Lead. We wrote a proposal together, her team and the Elmdale team got together and we wrote a proposal to see if we could be accepted to go. And we did get accepted to go. Our theme, Springdale Family Summer Camp, and our team was Dr. Rollins, Dr. Bridgeforth, Mr. Orpesa, one of our teachers, and Miss Tapia, and I, and we spent 3 days collaboratively working together with the State Department. We had a critical friend from the United States State Department that sat with us, and we worked and worked and worked, and she helped us move along. It was a very enlightening and wonderful opportunity for all of us. We loved the idea. We came back, and when I came back, I got with Melissa, and we both decided that we should be doing the same thing on both sides. So this wasn't a family camp just for Elmdale, and it wasn't a family camp just for Jones. Basically, what it was a family camp for families on the east side and families on the west side. And so all the schools promoted the program throughout the year, and we ended up having the program, and it was great. At Elmdale, we had between 19 and 21 families every day come to the program. It was very enlightening, and we had a really good time. Melissa is going to talk about the planning process.
So after the committee got back from Baltimore, I jumped into the planning process, and we met at a district level, just kind of working out some of the kinks that I knew that we had from the year before. I knew what worked well, and I knew what we needed to fix to make it better. And so talking about staffing, how many people were we going to need to run this, to childcare, what kind of childcare are we going to provide, what ages are we going to serve, how are we going to get parents there, so working with the transportation department. So once all those logistical things were done, and we did a couple of conference calls with the people from Baltimore, then we were able to bring our teachers in, and each of us had a lead teacher, and those lead teachers came together, and we kind of shared our vision of what we thought the curriculum should be, or what we wanted it to be, and they started to build a skeleton for that curriculum. And the theme was all about me. We wanted our parents to be able to tell their story, and the children to work with their parents to tell their story. So it was a super, super cool curriculum that they were able to write. So once the skeleton curriculum was written, then they pulled in the other teachers, and the meat was put on to they created all the lessons. And when I talked to my teachers that were involved, they were just they couldn't stop bragging about what they saw. They were so excited. The resources that we were able to share. Michelle has a food corps person. I don't have a food corps person, but the food corps person worked at both sites this summer.
She's amazing. Her name's Cassidy Hobbler. Mm-hmm. She was really amazing.
Yeah. So they just couldn't say enough good things about the program. So I'm excited that we will maybe get to do this again next year and make it even better. And I think at Jones we served 23 to 25 families every day. So we had a big one.
And so I kind of want to tell you about the meat of the program. So basically what we did for the first couple of weeks is we focused on the garden. What can you do with the garden in the summer? What kind of foods do you like to grow in a garden? They made salads from the garden. They did multiple things together. They planted plants together. During this was the first hour and a half of the program was with the whole family. And so as you can see, they got out into the garden and they worked together and talked about all the different things that grow in the garden, possibly make a garden at their own homes. And then the second part was all about writing. The families got together and they wrote about their families and the things that they liked about their families. And you can see that the media they used they wanted to use posters, and then they shared. They did like a gallery walk after, and of course this took quite a while for it to all play out. But it was an amazing program because different families connected all on the west side, and they got to know each other. And so they made more friends. Their kids made more friends. And it was relaxed and a lot of fun. The other theme that we did was STEM. And one of the fun things that they did is they made these marble mazes on our cafeteria wall. And so it was a collaborative effort. And so you can kind of see how they did that. But everything they did was a collaborative effort by the whole family for that first hour and a half. We really were using a part of our Springdale Family Literacy program, the components of it. And so the second part of the day, the kids went to the classroom and they were enriched with reading and writing, and the parents went to class and they were enriched with English. And their lessons were around the themes so that they could gain the vocabulary that they needed to participate in the morning activities. And the great thing about it is we did do a little evaluation at the end, and they loved the program. I have a lot more comments that they said, but these ones up here, they really liked it. They wanted it to be longer. Several of them said that they wanted it to be longer. They liked it that they met other people. They also liked it that they learned English, but they also got to spend time with their whole family. And so it was an awesome program. The teachers were amazing. We had 4 teachers. We had 2 adult ed teachers. We had a daycare for the kid, just for the 0 to 2, because we had pre-K classes as well. But total, when you think about the total, we say 19 to 25 families. But if you think about all the kids and the family members that were there, we're talking about, 100 people together. It was really amazing.
We had a full pre-K class.
Yes, yes.
We
And
weren't
so
expecting that.
I too am hoping that we get to do it next year too, but I believe I forgot one small piece. Before we ever did the program, Dr. Bridgeforth wrote a proposal for us to present this at the National Family Literacy Conference, and it was accepted before we did it. So I am so glad that it was successful, because now we can go and we can do a presentation in September. But it was really a wonderful opportunity. Thank you, Dr. Rollins. It just really was amazing to see these families getting together and just enjoying themselves at school. That's what one of them said, that it was wonderful that this wasn't boring. We had a lot of fun. So thank you. It was great.
And I think it really helped build that sense of community within our families. I think so many times our families, coming from the lives that they live, they feel so isolated from everybody else. So that community was built. And the really neat thing that I personally loved seeing was, as a child, I have great memories of working out in the garden with my dad and with my grandpa and shelling beans with my granny. But our families don't have those experiences. They live vertically, and there is no green space for them to grow things. And so it was just a really neat experience to see moms and dads and kids, getting to do the things that I loved doing as a kid and was privileged enough to get to do as a kid. So it was great.
So if you had to rank the success of your students, whether they had parental involvement or not, where would the parental involvement fall? As you sit there and go through the graduation that we just had, the family literacy for the adults, and they obviously took the initiative to
Absolutely.
become engaged.
So I think there's research after research after research that shows when parents are engaged and involved in their child's education, then that child is academically going to do better. And I think we see that in every elementary school in Springdale. When you have parents who want to be involved in school and who get involved in school and take time to get to know the teachers and the principals and look for ways to support their kids, are going to do better. And we see that.
And boy, the kids were so well behaved with their parents
I know.
there.
It was a beautiful
It
thing.
really was. It was wonderful. Can't say enough about it.
It was great.
You said if their parents want to be involved, why would, I know it's a completely different culture and a lot of struggles that we don't see or think of, but what are possibly some reasons where parents don't want to get involved?
Well, I think it's like a multifaceted question you asked. I think, and you're right, there are many, many reasons. A lot of our families are in survival mode. They are living to survive. And so school is kind of the last thing that they want to think about. And so as schools, we've got to find ways to reach out to them to let them know that we're here to help and support them. And we want...
So there are ways we could help them
Absolutely.
to survive.
Right. And showing them that we have this program that's going to help them learn English so that they can go out and become gainfully employed to support their families. Some parents just don't like school. They didn't have a good experience with school. They're not comfortable being in schools, so they don't ever walk through the front door. So again, we've got to reach out and build those relationships to let them know that the school we have is not the same school they grew up in.
Right. And some are just not, they're not confident. And so that's when we come in. We have to help them know that it's okay. You come on in here, we'll learn this together. We're in this together. And so that's part of it, you know? We just got to get them in so we can make a difference. Thank you.
How overwhelming is it to think about touching all of those that you guys know is all we need to do is to touch them?
I lose sleep over it at night, thinking about that very thing.
We just have to keep working at it. It's our job. It's what we do.
It's kind of becoming the norm, isn't it?
Yes.
Not really in your initial job description.
Other duties is assigned.
That's right. That's right.
And that list gets longer and longer.
Bigger and bigger.
Good
Y'all did
job.
a great job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We work with parent engagement, we work with building relationships, but we also are really focusing on academics. One of the things that we did this summer, the first week of June, June 11th through the 15th, I guess that's the second week, we had our very first Homegrown Institute, and it's a reading institute. We had, I think my numbers are 238 teachers and administrators in kindergarten through the 7th grade who participated in 4 days of learning, and then we built in a 5th day. What we did on that 5th day, those teams, because they came to the Institute in teams, they learned more about reading than they knew was possible. Our goal is, I want our teachers, as we go through this training, I want them to have the equivalent of a master's degree. I want them to know that much about reading. So that's our goal. So these folks who came to the Institute learned and worked very hard all week long, and on that Friday, they came together in teams and they planned how they were going to deliver that back to all the other teachers in their buildings. So they spent that time. They will have their first opportunity to teach this to their colleagues on August 7th, and all of the subsequent professional development days throughout the school year. They will continue to teach that. They will continue to meet together in professional learning communities and grow their knowledge together to serve the kids. So I wish I had printed out some of the comments that we had from folks who attended. They were overwhelmingly positive. I had people coming up to me on Friday, teachers coming up to me on Friday saying, we've got to do this again next summer. If we had done this last summer, I wouldn't even have known what to ask. But I've learned just enough now that I know what to ask, I know where we're headed, and I know enough to know that I need to know a lot more. So it was very successful. The people who came to present from Teachers College at Columbia University in New York were blown away with Springdale, to the point where I know Lucy Calkins, who is the leader of this program, has made phone calls to other people around the country about Springdale, and so impressed with that thirst for learning that our teachers had, the drive that they had, and the fact that even at the end of the day, they would gather around in small groups all over the school, continuing to talk about the learning. So it was a very successful event. We were very pleased with it. We hope that we can do it again next year. So, yeah. Questions? All right. This summer, and I just have to say this morning, Dr. Rollins taught all of the principals and me, all of us this morning. And a lot of his talk was around thinking about what it's like to be a contemporary teacher. What does innovation mean? What is creativity? And what does that look like when a teacher is standing up in front of a group of students? So in support of that and in thinking about that, we had our yet another Innovation Institute in June. The person who brought all of that together was Laura Bishop. I'm going to ask her to come up. And as she's coming, I do want to step back to the Homegrown. There were 3 of our employees, Megan Rojo, Linda Odell, and Charlene Horner, who worked, I'm pretty sure they worked about 20 hours a day, putting together the Homegrown. They weren't able to be here tonight because I really did want them to be able to stand up and you be able to look them in the eye and say thank you. Now, I do want to say this lady, because she will never tell you this, she too has spent countless hours putting together the Innovation Institute, and it was a grand success. I'm not going to steal any more of her thunder, but I do want her to tell you about it and all the people who came, how many Springdale teachers there were, and we had teachers from all over, and we had 2 keynote speakers who were both awesome. So I'm going to stop, Laura.
You're doing wonderful. My name is Laura Bishop. I'm a technology integration specialist for the district. And this summer, actually all year, I had the pleasure of working on a team that planned and organized our 4th annual Innovation Institute. We hosted it this year at HAR-BER High School. What the Innovation Institute is, we call it I2, is a EdTech conference that allows educators to come together and connect and discover new strategies and resources and ideas and tech tools that they can bring back to their classroom and enhance their teaching and learning with innovative new practices. So, here it is right here, isn't it? This is our t-shirt design this year. Every year we get the Springdale students together and we have a little contest, and our winner this year was Mr. Esteban Escobar from Springdale High School. This year we had 816 participants. Those are teachers, instructional coaches, administrators. We have EdTech, we have other districts, so we have a lot of technology integration people like myself. We had 133 presenters this year. We had 16 exhibitors. They came from 63 districts. We're up from 48 last year. And from across a 6-state region, we're up from 5 last year. And this is our 4th year. We were able to offer 185 sessions. We had 27 exhibitors present. We had 16 student presenters, and we turned the library into a makerspace so teachers could go in and experience as a student would, and then we also had like 9 sessions just in the library. That's not all those sessions we had on Makerspace STEAM. That was kind of our focus this year, but they could come into the library, experience it, and then learn how to implement that into their own classrooms when they get back. Talk about discovery. How did our educators discover this? Well, on the first day of the Institute, Dr. Slocum opened it up and welcomed our guests, and we were very honored to have Commissioner Key address our guest. And we were followed by our keynote, who was George Kouros. He is internationally sought after as a speaker and consultant on innovative teaching and learning. He is also the author of The Innovator's Mindset. And then on the second day, Dr. Rollins welcomed our guests, and he introduced our second day keynote, who is Tyler Tarver. He is a director of the Ouachita Baptist University at New Life Church. He has created the Tarver Academy, which is a help for teachers and students on mathematics as well as technology. His 2 YouTube channels have amassed over 11.5 million views. And he was our second day. So what did we provide? Talking about Transform, we were able to provide 7,675 hours of professional development during those 2 days. We always ask for feedback from our attendees at the end of the conference, and this is just a couple of them. I hate to read to people, but I do want to read the first one, because one of the part of the survey we ask is we just say, in general, what did you think about our venue and our organization and the practicality of our conference? And I want to read the first one to you. This was my first year, and I will be back every year that you host. Everything was so well organized, I never ate lunch. People, we had food trucks. I kept learning. So thanks for the snacks. The giveaways blew my mind. Wow, just wow. I mean, I was impressed that she didn't even go to the food trucks. I mean, so another thing we asked them on the feedback, we asked them, if the sessions you attended, because they attend 5 each day, depending on whether they take lunch or not, up to 5 to 6 sessions each day. Which of those sessions that you attended did you really enjoy that is very practical and that you will take back? Because we always want to get better. We want to see what kind of sessions that our attendees are enjoying. So these are just the titles of some sessions: Creative Blended Learning Environments, just to give you an idea of what we've got. The 21st Century Administrator, Creating and Managing a Makerspace, G Suite for School Leaders, and I would like to read this next one for you, if I may. It's called Adventure is Out There. And the reason I want to read this one is this one is one that was presented by our student presenters. So great to hear from the kids, the program's impact. It inspired me to work harder at integrating STEM works into my lessons. So hearing from the teachers we got a lot of great reviews on sessions that were actually when the teachers heard from students, when the teachers actually heard from students who were in those courses. And then the one there was steaming, tinkering, and making. The next group there are ones who helped us to provide swag bags for our attendees and for our presenters. They made some generous donations. These are all exhibitors in the rotunda at Harbor High. We had them sitting there for 2 days so that our educators could connect with them. And they just kind of assembled there in the rotunda. And this next group is, these sponsors were able to provide support and donations that we were able to give 134 fantastic giveaways over two days. And I would like to give you just a glimpse of what occurred at Har-BER on June 6th and 7th. Like to say thank you for your continued support, Dr. Rollins, school board, Springdale schools, and we would love to see you guys next year. We're already planning on June 12th and 13th, so hopefully we'll see you at hashtag I2SDale 2019. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura.
Good evening, Dr. Rollins, members of the board. We have 3 items on the secondary agenda. As you know, we have outstanding educators in Springdale, and we also have outstanding coaches. And so tonight we're acknowledging one of those educators and coaches. So if I could have Coach Zach Clark come forward, please. He is the head football coach of Springdale High School, and he received the 2018 Mental Health Champion Award, and this is for his Manhood Series, and I've asked him to come forward today and share a little bit about that program.
Thank you. Certainly feel this was a program we started. We feel like it is the fabric, the DNA of our football program. I am certainly, a guy named Ron Harris is who we have called in. He kind of runs the program as well as the coaches. It's real collaborative. How we started was on Thursdays after practice. We said, "Hey, we're going to talk about different topics." That we call it manhood because we want our guys to make a connection, and we want to talk about things that are tough and difficult for guys that certainly you know, most of the time doesn't have a whole lot to do with football initially, but, you know, I think it's our job to teach them about, you know, about relationships and about life and making those connections. Well, I don't feel, the first year, I don't feel like we did a very good job of that, so we really tried to extend the program, and, you know, it's an ever-growing process. Currently, we have a mentor program where we kind of piloted it last year, where we took, you know, our PLC and which was 12 young men, and then we had another 12 or 13 at risk that we deemed our most at-risk kids, and we tried to mentor them or partner them up with a male mentor in the community. And really, I hear teacher after teacher in every program talk about relationships and the connection, and that's what we have tried to do. We want them to feel a connection, number one, with their coaches, we will break them up into family groups, but more or less, you know, we tell them we feel like it's our job to love them. It is their job when they leave our program to understand what it's like to love each other. And if we can accomplish those two things, we certainly feel like we've done our job. It helps when you have great young men like Dawson Littrell, who's going to speak later about something completely about the IB program. But he was a part of the program that Dawson, what we found when you have kids that can take ownership, Dawson ended up tutoring our guys. He ended up, I don't know what we're going to do without Dawson Littrell, because he's had 3 or 4 kids probably at his house almost daily, just serving other kids. And I think the care factor for our program, for the kids in our program, I truly feel like our players, they do love each other, and they know what it feels like to care about their teammates and their school and this community.
So what made those our guys recognize?
I have no idea. I don't. I think there was a nomination process or something. So
Nice quiet impact on them.
There were 80 nominations and he was the winner.
it was rigged somehow. It was
I think it takes a lot of courage in today's social environment to step out there and say, hey, we're going to talk about manhood.
I think so. I think there's,
for others.
and
I think it really is.
you know, one thing that kind of, and I don't do a very good job. I've got a lot of good ideas, and just I need guys like Ron and you know, the guys on the staff, and we're just in the infant phase. But our booster club bought a book for every coach, for every football coach on our side, and then every principal on our side as well. It's a book by Joe Ehrman, and he's kind of a coach. He kind of started that transformational coaching. There was a book called Season of Life written by Jeffrey Marks about Joe Ehrman that I feel like changed my life, and that's kind of the pattern that we try to get our young men really to talk about love and caring, and I know that's different than you know, the gridiron greats of, you know, football, but we really feel that's helped our football program.
Earlier there was comments about how much successful a child is if there's parent involvement.
Correct.
And this is going to be one of the first steps.
Correct.
To these guys knowing they're going to have to be the man in their family.
You know, you're right. They're going to have to be the man. When what I've found that's interesting is we all struggle with different things, no matter if it's and my pain is no less significant than yours. And I just, you know, I feel like if we can get kids to talk to each other, men to talk to our players, then you know, we're all a little more comfortable, and we understand where each other comes from. Thank you, guys.
The next item, I've been blessed to be involved with this for the last 3 years. I think Dr. Rollins' vision on this particular item that we're going to discuss was second to none. He and Perry Webb got together, realizing that the partnerships that can be had between the Chamber and Springdale were amazing. And so from that, and with the help of Dr. Joe Rollins, started the ACES program, which I'm going to have Ms. Williamson come up and share a little bit about. This is the 3rd annual ACES program that we've had, and it's a pretty phenomenal event. And before I have Ms. Williamson talk a little bit about this, I just want to say something about this remarkable young lady. She and I have been working for about the last 3 years along with Dr. Joe Rollins, looking at CT and taking it from every angle that we possibly can, from ADE, what the expectations are there, what we've created in our district. They've been meeting regularly, very early in the mornings, creating systems and different things, websites that help support the vision of CTE in our district. And so I wanted to make sure she got kudos for that. She's an amazing lady, and she works very, very hard, and we're thrilled to have her doing this position this year. So I'm going to let her talk a little bit about the program. She was involved in all aspects of it this year.
Thank you, Dr. Smith. So ACES is referenced in, I understand it to be your articles on page 46 and 47, or 45 and 46, sorry, 45 and 46. If you would like to look, ACES is actually an acronym that stands for Academy for Career Educators in Springdale. And this is hosted by Bill Matthews at the McDonald's Corporation center he has out there. Wonderful conference event. We were greeted the first day by the governor and his entourage. Also someone from, Randy Zook from the Arkansas Chamber of Commerce. We are talking about relationships in a different perspective, trying to create connections with our teachers and industry leaders, business leaders, to be able to see what it is that we need to be doing in our classrooms. How can we provide real-world experiences for these kids? What equipment do they need? What kind of projects can we bring our business people into the school system and work alongside? I know we've had multi-craft contractors come in and work at Springdale High School on our robotics team. We have had industry leaders from Walmart and Tyson come in and talk to our Information Technology Academy. They're hiring our interns at Don Tyson School of Innovation, HAR-BER High, and also Springdale High. So, but we're just scratching the surface. One of the things that Mr. Zook talked about was what are the economic drivers in Arkansas? And the leading things that he said were medical, agriculture, tourism, and manufacturing. And you can see by the list of people that were there as far as businesses. We had medical with Mercy, we had building trades, we had industrial mechanical, so George's, Cargill, Conair, Nabholz, Springwood, behavioral health, and just having the opportunity to sit down in a casual environment with teachers in small groups to say, what is it that you're looking for as entry-level employees, and what can we do as educators to better connect? We have teachers that are going to bring these people in and help them interview kids and help them, again, work on projects so that they can kind of get an idea of building those relationships on a different level and say, hey, you know, maybe you would be a prospect for being an intern one of these days in our businesses. And so hoping to just build that. We had 28 participants as far as teachers from Springdale schools. We had 23 businesses take place, and then the educators actually went in 2 or 3 different businesses, multi-craft contractors, Rockline, which does baby wipes, and then the new Tyson facility, which is the new IT on Emma, which was really cool. Very different environment to work, you know. I mean, it's not the cubicles. You can actually, the cubicles are much like where you're sitting now. Everyone can see everyone else, and there's ping pong tables, and there's glass conference rooms, and really state-of-the-art opportunities for kids to say, oh, I can see myself working here. And just the collaborative effort that you saw the people taking part in. I just think having our teachers be able to see that and then share that and hopefully take our kids there, I think is really important. So, does anyone have any questions about anything that was, I don't have any neat little video, but maybe that's something that Brooke and I can work on next year. Brooke Morgan from the Chamber of Commerce is amazing. She's the one that really brings in all the businesses. Perry Webb, of course, is there to support, so it's really a neat thing. We would like to also invite, I think, other besides just high school. I think it would be good to have junior high and even middle school teachers come as well. I believe that most all of those teachers that came or administrators were high school. So I think it would be really good to take some of those career teachers and that kind of thing, bring them in. All right.
Thank you, Kelly. Great job.
Dr. Rollins, thank you for allowing us to do that event. I know it's powerful for the teachers. The last item is the IB program at Springdale High School. And if I could have Ms. Turley come forward, please. I've worked with Ms. Turley, I'm going to say 20 plus. I won't say what the plus means, but 20 plus years. And she has been the IB director at Springdale High School for a number of years, and over that time I can tell you her dedication to students and the expectations of excellence that the IB program has is second to none. I also want to thank the board. We know this is a program that's near and dear to a lot of your hearts. I think she's going to share some exciting news with you about the program of IB, but it is an absolute phenomenal program, and I'm sure a couple of the students hopefully tonight will share their experiences about the program and how it's impacted them. The first thing I did ask Ms. Turley to do is just give a very quick overview. I know we have some new board members, just to let them know really what the IB program is, and then she'll recognize some of her outstanding students.
Thank you, Dr. Smith. Thank you, board, for this opportunity. It's always an honor and a privilege to come to you each year to recognize our IB International Baccalaureate Diploma Program and the graduates who received the diploma. Just a quick reminder to you and to the audience here, IB is a global education program. We are one of over 3,000 diploma programs in the world, and they're located in 153 countries. So we feel very honored that we are one of those. It is a rigorous program of study. I would surmise that some of my students that are back there waiting to receive this certificate will tell you that, and there were probably times when they thought, oh, I don't know, can I do this? And their parents may have said the same thing, I think. But they did because they know how to persevere, which is one of our traits that we teach as Springdale High School Bulldogs, to persevere and to get through. They put together a program of study. It's 2 years. It commences in their junior year. They have to take a course in our language and literature courses, which is English for us. They get a language acquisition course that can be Spanish, German, or French on our campus. Individuals and societies would be similar to what we used to call social studies. Science, and that can be chemistry for us, and IB biology, IB chemistry, or IB computer science. Mathematics, we offer 2 different levels of that mathematics. And then they choose an elective. Visual arts, or one of the other areas being language acquisition, science, or the social studies. They also have to choose which ones are going to be their higher level that we offer. That's 240 hours of instruction, and then they take 3 classes that are on the standard level, 150 hours. These courses are internally assessed and externally assessed that they have. The internal assessments, projects, papers, their external assessments would be like what you would think of as AP exams. They're given in May, but they're more than just 1 day worth of assessments. They do that over a 2-day period. In addition, and on the model that you received as a handout from Dr. Smith, there is what they call the core components. So these young people have written a 4,000 word maximum research paper. So that's the one of the personalizations of the program, they get to pick what topic they're going to do that on. They have a faculty mentor on our campus. So we have faculty members who volunteer their time to meet with our students outside of their regular assignment. And we could not have our program and be as outstanding as it is without them. And I'm forever grateful to them. In fact, I saw one of our mentors just this week, and he said, by the way, have you seen or heard from my student? I want to meet up with him before school starts. That's dedication, because our teachers are not paid during the summertime unless it's a stipend activity. So they have the research paper. They have a component that's called Creativity Activity Service, also known as CAS, that they design. And they can be innovative with whatever they're going to do with that. That program helps them to think globally and act locally. And then they have a course called Theory of Knowledge. That course, so that they can be a part of their different extracurricular, is taught either at 0 hour or, Mr. Jones, we have an 8th hour class. Nobody seems to know that on our campus, that someone is meeting after 4 o'clock, other than athletics. But we have a class called Theory of Knowledge that's taught in the 8th hour so that these young people can satisfy all the requirements. So, personalization for their curriculum, innovation in what they're doing. So we fit right into what you're saying, Dr. Rollins, and has a goal for our district. Benefits. I think these young people are going to tell you lots of benefits if they wish to share that with you. They become critical thinkers. They have communication skills that are outstanding. They've learned time management. Most importantly, these students, there were 29 total, but 15 earned the diploma. But they received over $3.5 million in scholarship monies. That was 1/9 of the total district's dollar amounts in scholarship. That was pretty phenomenal. And they can earn college credit if the university allows them to do that to where they're attending. And then Springdale High School is one of 4 IB World schools in the state for public public high schools rather. We were reauthorized in May of this year for another 5 years. And we received extremely high marks. IB has a phrase called matters to be addressed. Some of those things you need to work on. We had none. So that was quite a process of a self-study that we presented to IB, to the point that, if I may, the Renee Ilhart, who was our liaison, she wrote in her email to us giving us the evaluation that she said, in addition, I hope that you do not mind that we have shared the good practice we have found in your school internally across the IB, so worldwide, to alert our colleagues to the expertise you have to offer. Yes, sir.
How did this IB thing come about, and what do you mean it's a global?
Well, in 1968, so IB is 50 years old, schools who had internationally had students who would be from another country, international schools. And could they have a course of study?
Maybe their parents were diplomats.
Correct. Right. So could they have a course of study that would allow them to go back to their home countries to go into universities at those in those countries if they wanted to go there? So they worked together and said, let's put together a curriculum that can be taught internationally. So we're one of those now. So we have students who want, if they wanted to study abroad, all 4 years they could. We get recruitment from the London School of Economics, Hong Kong University, so our students could do that if they should so desire.
How many students do
we had 29 seniors last year, 25 juniors. Our incoming class is going to be larger for the junior year. It'll be 32 kids. And our sophomore class is at 35.
So 29 kids got $3.5 million in scholarship money?
They were offered as a group, $3.5 million.
Right.
Right.
That's awesome.
It's, thank you. Thank you for saying that. I appreciate that, Mr. Emerson. Yes, so the other, just want to note where the other IB World Diploma Program schools are. Bentonville, North Little Rock, Hot Springs, and there is one private school in the state, Mount St. Mary's High School. So, with no further ado, the real important people that are here, the real celebrities, if I can get them to come forward, I asked them if they would line up down here alphabetically, in alphabetical order, so we can run through this with their certificates. Dr. Rons, if you'll join me to help present. Well, they sat alphabetically. Okay. Let's see. You want? Right.
Because just the seniors got that money, right? Or did juniors get it too?
If you want me to.
Of the seniors.
So 15 kids got it.
Come on.
Either way.
Obedient child.
Okay, so this is
She's
Caitlin
learned.
Dunlap. She will be a student at the University of Arkansas in the Honors College.
Smile.
All right. Our next recipient is Olivia Eccles. She will be attending Lyon College in Batesville, Arkansas. Our next recipient is Claire Freeman. She will be attending the University of California in Los Angeles, UCLA.
Nice shirt, by the way.
You just squeaky toy.
Rick, your subjects aren't doing very well, are they?
And our next recipient is Anna Guyton. She will be attending Reed College in Portland, Oregon. It is a liberal arts, right? So it's a premier university for that.
Two West Coasters.
And our next one, we didn't have many males in the program, can you tell? But this one is Chance Krawcheck, and he will be attending Purdue University. And next, he's already been mentioned in the board meeting, is Dawson Littrell, and he will be going to Texas A&M University. All right, and then I have Braden Meredith, who will be attending Baylor University. And our last one that we have here tonight is Lalita Sisavan, and she will be also attending the University of Arkansas and studying in the Honors College. Right. Yeah. Any questions? Yes?
Why'd you do it? It's hard. It's hard, challenging, all right.
It's difficult, it's actually interesting, you're actually engaged every day you go to class, which is, I mean, AP classes are nice, but it's a lot of, memorize, recite, repeat. IB is nothing like that.
I actually transferred from Fayetteville to come to Springdale High to do the IB diploma program. And yeah, it's very challenging, but there's also a sense of community that you don't get with AP classes. We all know each other so well, especially when there's only 30 of you. You're all in each other's classes, and there's something really beautiful about that, having that support.
What would you tell a student that's thinking about doing the IB program? Apparently, Dawson, you have something?
Be ready, it's still work. You're going to have to learn how to time manage to a T, minutes. And any free moment you get, you're going to have to be working. So, be ready.
It teaches you how to study.
Yeah.
Did you guys learn to study in groups, to work together? And I think that's a skill that a lot of students don't have when they go to college, but they're able to develop that skill because of what they're involved in, what they're doing.
I feel like you guys are gonna have a lot better, a lot easier time at college than maybe some other kids would, because you're kind of out of the gate quicker already and understand how it works. You don't have that freshman and sophomore where you're trying to figure out what's going on, so, yeah, so congratulations, that's really, really cool.
So, board, some of them had their parents and family here, and I would like for us to give some recognition for them, because these young people cannot accomplish this without some family support and be, okay, all right, you say you've got this paper due, we'll let you slide on the chores tonight, maybe. I don't know if they did that or not. So they've kind of slipped out because we're getting ready to have pictures, but family members of the IB students, will you please stand?
Oh, good Lord, Vicky's crying.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Good job. Thank you, Ms. Turley. Beautiful job. Marcia, while you're here, so you don't up and down, Mel, let her go ahead while she's here, and we'll come right back. Mel's going to do item E tonight, board, if you would.
There's also a couple individuals that are getting ready to walk out that also are Ms. Williamson, Mr. Guyton. They are instructors in the IB program. So when they smile and they know about the rigor, they really know about the rigor. Thank you. Item E, just quickly, item E, we're seeking board approval. Each year we have an MOU about migrant education, and this is just to accept the grant money, which is approximately $224,000. This grant is overseen by Dr. Bridgeforth and the ESL division. And so at this time, I know it's quite lengthy, it's from pages 266 to page 296, but we're seeking board approval for that. It is accepting the money, and it's also holding us accountable to the federal guidelines.
I guess, is there anything considerably different than what we've seen in this in the past?
No, no.
I didn't think there was.
The summary board's on page 296, if you've not worked your way there.
If you're ready, Mr. President, I don't mind making a motion that we accept the Migrant Education Grant and the documents that go along with that.
Second.
I was ready for that motion, Mr. Luttrell, and the second by Mrs. Cook. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Dr. Smith, great job. Now, Mel, if you'll come on, that'd be great. Board, we're back on item D. This is Melody Morgan, who does such a great job for us.
Thank you, Dr. Owens. Good evening, members of the board. So I'm responsible for your lengthy packet of reading.
214.
I
Did y'all see
know.
that?
You did good.
Now, we have also created that in digital form for easy reference as well. But let me just give you a little bit of background on the process. My job is really easy. It's the work of our schools. This is their living document. This is their strategic plan, if you think of it that way. Every year I come to you and ask you to review it, to see the work that these schools do that help align their resources, both the human and the dollars, and as well as the review annually of their data that they do. And this year we had an extra piece provided. We had our first release of our ESSA plans in the spring. And ESSA uses, as you know, you've heard, a lot of measures. It uses multiple measures. So what they did is in May, April and May, they involved multiple stakeholders and multiple people in their schools, and the leadership team reviewed their strategic plans. And they also did it through using a guiding question about how the new Federal Accountability System, which is ESSA, which stands for Every Student Succeeds Act, how that new accountability system and how that data was presented to them helps inform their strategies, their evidence-based strategies, their school improvement planning, and how they align their resources. Remember, the ultimate goal that they're thinking of as they're doing that is whether or not we have a strategic plan in place that ensures that our students are achieving and growing. Now, I really shortened it, Dr. Rollins, but that's it in a nutshell. So we present these plans to you for all of our 30 schools. I want you to be aware they are living. They are very strategic in their work. I have worked with them. Ms. Kimberly Glass has worked with them, and they have really expanded the efforts on 3 main indicators. If you remember last year, I told you our indicators are not random. They're indicators that support our vision. They support our instructional management plan, and they're, if you think of them as a thread, they're pieces that are woven throughout that in support. And to just summarize again what those 3 main indicators are that we are unified throughout our district on in our strategic planning are: the principal monitors the curriculum and instruction regularly. School leadership teams regularly use and review data to inform decisions and make sure that we're using that to inform professional development needs, looking at our strengths and our weaknesses and our opportunities for growth. And then the third focused indicator is all personnel work effectively with children from all culturally and linguistic backgrounds to ensure that we are bridging those gaps and divide that we might possibly have with some of our families, some of our community. So having said that, do you have any questions for me about the plans as they were presented to you? They are very detailed. They're timeline-oriented, action-oriented plans. No questions?
Only got through 211 pages.
So just to tell you that the transparency, and this is also a requirement. This is one of our state requirements. Once you approve these plans, we actually publish them on our website. Missy does a great job of that for us. We publish them under the alphabet S for state required information, so they are transparent for the public. Anybody can pull up the alphabet, on our main landing page, hit S for state required information, and one of the components required to be there is the accountability section, and that includes all of our school improvement plans. Okay? So they're there for review. So tonight I'm asking for, making a request for a motion from you to approve the plans as presented to you, as well as to have them published. And then it's twofold. You can do it in one motion or you can do it in 2. We have that statement of assurances that also needs board motion and approval on. To remind you what the statement of assurances is, the assurances basically define the legal expectation of how we allocate and disperse our federal dollars and funds in accordance to federal law. So if somebody,
Will it work to say, I move that the board approve the statement of assurance to be submitted to the Arkansas Department of Education regarding the expenditure of funds?
yes, sir, as well as, unless you want two motions, you could add in, and the school improvement plans as presented.
And the school improvement plan as presented.
That's a long motion.
So I'll accept that motion.
Did anyone, Miss Cynthia, did you need that? Did you hear that? Okay.
She's always on top of it.
That's part of the compliance, is that our motion, you understand that. Okay, thank you so much for your time. Oh, you have a question?
I need a second, too.
I'll second.
So I have a motion by Mr. Dotson and a second by Mr. Luttrell for the motion that I'm not going to repeat, but it is read basically exactly how it was written in our agenda item.
The only piece is you're approving, this year you have to approve the plans as
And the pla-
presented.
and the
That's
plan.
something new. I've always presented the plans to you as part of just good practice, but they have to be approved this year with our new ESSA planning.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you very much.
Great job, Melody.
Just like that, on page 298.
Good evening. In your packet, you'll see that there are 14 transfer requests this month. Everybody wants to come into Springdale. There are 3 students from Fayetteville, 5 from Bentonville, 2 from Huntsville, 3 from Siloam Springs, and 1 from West Fork. And no students requested to go out. So I'll be happy to answer any questions. Otherwise, I'd ask that you approve these out-of-district transfer requests.
I make a motion that we approve these out-of-district transfer requests.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Cook and a second by Mr. Emerson. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Next on the board.
Board, our schedule has been adjusted. We're here on a different night than we're used to. Our work session, which we normally hold in July because of all the activities of the summer, we will do in August. So if you would, make sure that Randy's always telling me, make sure I get that on my calendar. We'll be meeting at 11:30 on August 14th for our summer work session. I would tell you, and Kevin talked some yesterday as we prepared for tonight's meeting, that I do believe we'll continue to work on adjusting this agenda, and when we kind of get settled on that, I'll give you a revised copy. It seems a little dated to go that far back and talk about some of the things we might have talked about earlier. So if there are things that you would like to have us discuss, I'd be happy to put that on the agenda. So just send me your thoughts and we'll work from there. I would tell you, yesterday, as we began our back-to-school process with staff, we had about 135 new teachers. Just absolutely fantastic morning with them yesterday. As always, we want to make sure they're brought into the school system in the right way, introduced to the culture of our district as best we can, and begin to open doors to make sure they're comfortable in each of their buildings. But that's a lot of new people, Nick, to come into the system. We're kind of used to that. We do that just about every year. And I'm really impressed by this group of new staff members. Today, we had our administrative team together throughout the day, and I had the privilege to visit with them this morning. The other members of our general administration team, then visited with them throughout the day. Tomorrow, we will have a full day's focus led by the instructional team. So we're in full speed ahead, if you will, from the standpoint of trying to open the new school year. We think we'll have close to 23,000 kids. I continue to get great information about our pre-K program. Looks like we could have as many as 1,500 kids in pre-K this year, which is great. I expect the growth will be in that 300 number in terms of new students, but again, probably in that 23,000 range when you look at pre-K plus kindergarten through 12th grade. So we're excited about the opportunities that exist. We will go down first of the week, Monday through Wednesday. We'll be a part of the state meeting, visit, network, if you will, with our fellow administrators from around the state. I think y'all remember that Marybelle has been president of the State Elementary Principals Association this year. Has just done a beautiful job in terms of working with that group and representing our teachers and administrators and certainly the board in terms of communication about the issues of the day at the state level. So that's very, very good. And obviously we'll get back here next Thursday and Friday, continue our focus, and then the following week we'll have our chamber events on Thursday, elementary, secondary on Thursday. I hope y'all will join us for that event. And the following Friday we'll be at our auditorium for our district-wide meeting. So please come and join us for that. Y'all are a major part of that initiative. I would tell you our keynote speaker for that event is really a prominent leader nationally in terms of looking at the kids we serve today, the way they prefer to learn, and I'm really looking forward to the comments that she will bring for us. In the last weeks, we've been looking at the kind of the history of education in our country. We've talked about teachers and the job descriptions that were prominent in the 1800s, the job descriptions that were prominent in the 1900s, and then looking forward to, again, how we can adjust and improve to better connect with kids at every level. So it's been a great experience for us. I'm going to send y'all some material to read, and I know y'all will read it. I know Mike Luther will read every page of it, what I said.
He's going to give us all the synopsis of it after he reads it.
That's part of the agenda for the work sessions. He's going to have to
present.
report on all that stuff.
I'm almost done with the exit reports that she gave me. I'm almost there.
You know, I think y'all will enjoy the material we send you. We are, I use the term transition. Dr. Morledge uses the term transformational. The point is, it clearly is a new era. Today's kids do learn differently, and I realize I'm repeating myself, but we all need to be learners in regard to those things that really appeal to them. The whole idea, and this board's been a full partner in this historically, we're not at all afraid to reorganize school in order to better connect with our children. We've done it in the past, we'll do it in the future. And we're in the midst of looking at those things right now. So just put your learning cap on with the rest of us, and we'll try to understand how that works. Fair enough? That sound good? I really, really like our team. We've had quite a bit of change, as you well know. We've had people waiting in the wings for a long time. And as people have retired and transitioned, we've got great young people coming forward, really at the top of their career, ready to lead. That should tell you a great deal about our team. I don't know very many districts, first of all, who would have the size or the level of change that we have almost on an annual basis and really be able to do that and get better and better in the process. So It's quite a tribute to our entire staff. Board, I do want to thank our central office team. This has been an interesting summer. It's been a very interesting summer, something that has challenged us, but it's inspired us as well. So, like I said, I like our team, and we're ready to serve Springdale kids, perhaps at a level we've never done before. So, it's been pretty special for a long, long time.
Cynthia, can you shoot us an email and let us know about the chamber stuff, when and where and all that stuff, so we make sure we get it on our calendar?
We'll get you that calendar out. As a matter of fact, it should be in your agenda.
It's probably
if you
in
look
here,
close.
but it's a lot easier if you just send it. I just look for it.
I found it. I mean, I have it
Instead of digging 400 pages.
I see where you're coming from.
I had kind of trouble with it, but.
Mike, you're exceptional.
We'll be happy to do that. Okay, Mr. President, any other questions about that for me? Let me just talk with you in general about the experience I had earlier in the month as I participated as a board member with the American Association of School Administrators. I believe this is my 5th year to be a member of the National Board, and it is a great opportunity to understand at the national level how the issues of the day are coming forward. Finance is always important. You realize that the administration of our country recommended a public school budget that reduced the department's budget by $9 billion. Thankfully, we have a Congress that studied that recommendation, set it aside, and have dealt with it in a very studied and very rational way. It's hard sometimes when you're looking at the magnitude of the program across all the states to get a feel for the U.S. Department's role sometimes, the allocation of money. But for example, the Perkins Fund is a significant Arkansas initiative. It's really a significant initiative in Northwest Arkansas as the economy rebounds, and it is rebounding, thankfully. The workforce issue is as paramount as it's ever been. Obviously, services require appropriate funding. Federal dollars are a great asset with that for every district and certainly for ours. It has been quite a struggle. We were very successful a year ago as we transitioned from NCLB to the ESSA model that you hear talked about now every month. There was significant appropriation in terms of new monies that flowed to the department, which then were distributed to the states. We certainly felt that impact. The U.S. government is certainly in a conservative mode in terms of their releasing revenues to come out to the schools. There's enormous tug of war at the U.S. level in terms of privatization, vouchers, and so on and so forth. That's not a new conversation for you. It's certainly not for any of us. And we've been able to be a part of that conversation, answer our congressional questions. And I want to tell you that the relationship that this school district has with our representatives is phenomenal. Our congressional leaders is phenomenal. I spent a day with 4 key legislators, obviously. Steve Womack is really emerging as, frankly, in my opinion, a national leader in the school budget, the school finance, in finance at the national level. All of us need to really let him know how much we appreciate him and how proud we are of him. And if he were here tonight, it'd be just like talking to y'all. It's just, we just have that kind of relationship, and it's beautiful. Senator Cotton, Senator Bozeman, same. They both, all 3 of those guys gave me over an hour, which is almost unprecedented. And we went through the list of items from appropriation to school safety to Medicaid in the schools, and the list goes on and on. They were very interested and things that are happening in Springdale, and I hope we'll see their voice touch those issues as we go forward. I sent y'all a note just a day or two ago, but I know it's commonplace, and you do too, and I understand that. But Representative Westerman is also becoming a close friend of the Springdale school system. And he was really generous with his time with me, and we had a lot of opportunities to talk about the needs of the school. He is very into, Kevin, the reading initiatives of the country. His wife is a great teacher dealing with dyslexia and so forth, and he constantly sends and shares materials, which I in turn share with our principals and teachers. But those kind of relationships are pretty special. And so as you have an opportunity, I hope you'll help me thank them for what they do. Go ahead, Ted.
You said the budget was reduced $9 million from what?
It was billion.
Billion, from what?
Reducing the U.S. Department of Education budget. That was the executive recommendation.
It was reduced by $9 billion?
That was the executive recommendation. It was not reduced.
Okay.
The Congress did not follow that lead.
Okay, but from what? The recommended
Well,
reduction was from?
If you're asking me what the U.S. Department of Education total budget is, I'll have to do a little homework.
Okay.
Be glad to do that. But at any rate, the reduction was rejected.
Okay.
And so basically what they've done, they've taken, as I said, a very conservative model. They went back to last year's budget. They increased certain categories slightly. And so we'll be in constant debate about that until the appropriation process is complete. Now, seriously, if you want that number, I've got it. I just
68 billion.
68.
If this is right.
Was the original number?
Yeah, that was in 2016.
2016.
Annual budget in 2016 was 68 billion.
In terms of the number of kids served across the United States, that number is in excess of 50 million kids. So you can begin to think about how that appropriation lays out and comes behind all the different programs, entitlements, et cetera. So I sent y'all a copy. I don't know if you've had time to read it, but I hope you will, and then we can talk more about it. But I sent you a summary of AASA's legislative package and the particular items that they were looking at. And again, it started with appropriations and then went through about a dozen different categories that we worked very hard while we were up there. Kevin, you want me to go on, or is that sufficient in terms of kind of an update that we can follow up on?
Yeah, I think it's sufficient, but I do want to make sure and encourage the board if they have any specific items for the work session.
Yes, sir.
We are kind of
Yes, sir.
at the center of it. If there's anything, feel free to let Dr.
You bet.
Rollins know.
I would appreciate that very much. Okay, thank you all, and we look forward to a great school opening. And I know, as you always do, you'll
We
find.
certainly appreciate your advocacy for public schools, not only for Springdale, but for the state, when you get on these boards and committees, and you're an excellent asset for us for that.
Thank you.
We appreciate that.
It is a privilege.
You keep us informed about that.
Thank you, sir. All right. Dr. Cleveland, you ready?
I suppose.
Are you not sure?
I'm sure. I'm distracted, I'm trying to get there.
Been surprising you all day today, haven't I?
Yes, you keep on.
I'm famous for us.
Well, I do understand that occasionally things happen from right to left. Okay. I have some updates for you. I know that Miss Cynthia sent out some personnel updates for you. If you don't mind, Mr. Dawson, would you mind to take one and pass it down?
I don't mind.
They're each a little different, I apologize. Those are just for your edification when you get ready. The one page that's important that I know that you're interested in and that you look at every year and that I look at as well and that Dr. Rollins really scrutinizes is the number of new staff that we hire due to growth. As you know, at this particular moment, the SOIs is really increasing. We had about 600 plus students last year. This year we'll have I think the number's 673. I could be wrong. You have a more accurate
Well,
number
the
than me.
total number
I'm sorry,
for
12.
school will be over
73.
1,200, just over 1,200 at the school.
Right.
Joe reminds me all the time that's doable, but it'll be a push, and we understand that.
It sure will, and walking through the building today, I'm looking forward to seeing how inventive Ms. Tischer is in regard to creating classrooms. Okay, so we've added about 24 certified positions at SOI at this point. However, of the 24, they're not full-time equivalents, meaning they were partial contracts. Ms. Tischer's done a really good job, and Joe did prior to that, of just hiring for the need. So we've shared with some other buildings and doing some other things. So we have 21.71 FTEs, full-time equivalents. So there's some part-time folks there that we share. We have 3 new district-level positions, Bobby Cole, Joe Rollins, and Danny Brackett. And so they're in new roles. Joe will be up in just a moment to discuss our facilities plan as we see it today. It shows that we have 8 instructional specialists. Now, these were the former TOSAs. We are now just replacing where we paid them from. They were raised to the top positions. Now they're coming from NSL, okay? We've also added 4 East positions. Those positions are at Shaw, T.G. Smith, Jones, and Knapp. And I know we've talked about East this whole time, and we'd like to get to where we had an East position in every building, but right now, 4 is all we can extend. The real coup that was that took place here is that we've been paying for East out of local funds, out of the teacher salary fund. Dr. Rollins has requested from the state the ability to pay for East positions from NSL, and they granted that for this year. So that's quite a savings to the district from the teacher salary fund.
And Jared, just to really give credit to Mr. Key and others, that's unprecedented. That hasn't happened before. And we made that request really for all the schools of the state. So every school in the state now, if they so choose, can use their NSLA money to help fund East, which is really it's a beautiful thing. And I'm glad to see the commissioner responding that way, because it really opens the door for an East Initiative, which is one of the very finest academic programs, I think, anywhere.
Absolutely.
And I think our entire state is going to benefit.
That's very well said, Dr. Rollins. As far as special ed, we've increased numbers across the district, K through 12, and at this particular moment, we're at 6 new SPED positions. Our numbers have really gained, really increased.
Would you repeat that?
6 new special ed positions?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
And none of those, they're all new, none are replacements.
Correct.
Our number of special needs children exceeds 2,300 kids today. And she also, Jared, talked to us about many more of our early kids entering the district are being evaluated. So that number
is going to increase, especially at the elementary level. Right now, we have 3 elementary growth positions. I think 2 of those are at Knapp, so her numbers are going up quite a bit, and one's at Shaw. The number 4 position is actually a rewards money position. Westwood got quite a bit of money in the rewards work, and so they added an instructional facilitator for this next year. The middle school, we've only increased by 1.5 positions. So the middle school's pretty tight. As you know, we're tight, but we're trying to hold the line. I hear that from Dr. Rollins occasionally. Junior high, we've not added any new positions. That's a true statement, right? Okay.
at least hourly.
Oh, levity tonight. We're good. Junior high, not added any. Senior high, we've had an interesting situation happen. With the restructuring of our language academy, especially at HAR-BER, our level 2s and 3s will be going to zone schools or back into the regular ed classroom with support, with ELD support. So with that increase from the language academy students into the regular ed classrooms, it's created a need to add additional staff. You know, they were over in an environment that was 15 to 1, and you would think, well, hey, if those kids go back out into the regular classroom, surely we could absorb those, right? It makes sense. I had a real hang up with that. I had heartburn about that. And so met with Danny Brackett and his team early, and now with Paul Greep and his team, and we fleshed out that, yes, we're going to have to roll those folks into some regular ed positions, but in the last few days, with the help of Dr. Smith really getting in the weeds, she's a great booger finder, if you will. She is fantastic at it, and she's really, really helped, and she gets really all the credit. She and Paul Greep and the rest of the team. And we've saved 2 additional positions. We found needs across the district that were necessary, and we've moved those to employees. So,
Jared, I hate for her to miss that. They're deeply involved in conversation. She needs to hear that.
She still doesn't know we're talking about it.
Well, I said it for her benefit.
I'm glad she's got her counsel with her in case she doesn't.
I'm sure it's very high level what's going on, whatever it is. So there were 7 changeover. Now, those people were still here last year. They were part of that team over there. We just changed the funding mechanism to teacher salary. And we've added 1 social studies position at Springdale High. So all in total, it's really interesting to see. We've added 56.8 new people. And I asked Dee, what's 0.8 of a person? But technically, that 0.8 is a partial person. We have several people across the district that work part-time. Okay. We've added 15 new categorical positions, so that reduced in the way my mind works from our overall exposure to local funds to 40.31 overall FTEs. We've absorbed 4 current positions. At the elementary level, Harp, Lee, Parson Hills, 4 ALE additional positions, so that's really 8. So it shows 36.1 minus 4, which is 4 ALE, so 32.31 positions. I have to think of it that way, or the 56.8 new positions is a hard pill to swallow. Okay? But at this particular time, we're in great shape financially. SOI needs to be supported. We've got 1,200 plus, almost 1,300 students, and they need to have the opportunity to be taught there. The good thing is our schools, as far as numbers from year to year, they're not going down traditional schools, so we've got to have some growth here. I'm looking forward to seeing what our registrar's input in regard to our student numbers. Those numbers need to be there. That's just the way that is. Our numbers need to be there because the way we're funded is on ADM, right? So we're working to make sure that happens. Registrars are working feverishly right now to make sure that we have everyone who's been registered in our system and we can count them. As you know, Dr. Rollins mentioned to you, we've had 24 admin changes. He is very excited about this new year and this new team, and so am I. And I think we just have to look at it that way. It's going to be an exciting time for the next several years. So, do you have any particular questions for me about personnel?
Not really personnel. What is the coordinator of admin academic accountability?
Okay. Bobby Cole?
Yeah.
Bobby Cole is a former junior high principal over at George Junior High. Originally, when he came to the district, and Dr. Rollins can probably tell this story better than me, but this is my understanding, he had a position like testing coordinator that Melody Morgan took. Whenever George was open, he applied for it and went to George. Now we've had such a need for detailed work in the area of OCR reporting, eSchool, our master scheduling is such a nightmare. He's a phenomenal whiz at that work. Right now, Ms. Tischer can probably attest, he helped build their master schedule, which is a nightmare. And he did it. He stayed over there with them for several days. He's got a skill set that is unique. And he's elected.
Very importantly, Board, don't lose sight of the fact that we today have over $22 million in new technology serving kids pre-K through 12 because of the Race to the Top grant. But the funding for the Race to the Top grant is behind us. It's complete. So now we've got to service and guide and lead and utilize that technology in the way we'd all want. So we've got to have hands on deck to make that happen.
In addition to Dr. Rollins' comments, ESSA is our new accountability system, right? There are ways to make sure you get credit for the work you do in our ESSA plan. But if you input your data incorrectly or or don't, well, junk in is junk out. With the skills we have with Albert over in the technology department, Melody Morgan in her skills and assessment, adding Bobby back to that mix ensures or helps us have some insurance that we get all the points and all the credit that we work hard to deserve. So it's a necessary position, and we're fortunate that he's here to be able to do that. And, it's just tough.
I don't know that we've had anybody
Good
go.
with the answer.
Oh, okay.
We were just curious.
I was
Oh.
curious with
Yeah.
Okay.
how the wording of that, what it meant.
It means about everything in a bag. I mean, you just throw it
all
all
the
our needs in a
other
paper
things
sack and pull it out, and it's mainly accountability. It's a detailed. It'd be work that I probably would not be good at. I'd have to learn it.
The third sheet you handed out?
Classified, and it should say the assignment and what it is. Overall, I expect we still continue to have some resignations that are surprising, but I understand a couple of them that we brought in over the last 2 days. People at the last minute decided they did want to stay home with their children, and can't blame them for that. So, anything else? If not, I'd invite Joe Rollins to come for his inaugural debut here of talking about facilities, even though he's done it 100 times. Yeah, there you go.
Thank you, sir.
You need me up here at all?
Only if you want to. All right. Well, officially, I had a chance to start and move in starting July 1, and in the most public fashion that I can, I want to say this. If you've not had a chance to meet members of our support services team, Mr. White, Mr. Athey, I'm going to leave a lot of names out, but Wayne Buttram, members of our maintenance, custodial, transportation, food service programs, they have wrapped their arms around me, and they've helped get me up to speed. And I want to say thank you for all that they do, because after walking in, you always think that you have a pretty good handle on everything that goes into a role. You need to understand the number of hands, the man hours, the heart that goes into what they do. Unbelievable group of very, very skilled men and women who are working in our school. So thank you to them for all that they do. We're going to spend a lot of time talking about phase 2 of the SOI. And we're going to spend time tomorrow with Brad Chilcote, who drove up here to be with us tonight. He's going to be with us tomorrow. You see some images about where we stand currently. I know we've talked about it several times. We've seen several different blushes at it. After we showed this image to our administrators today, and I feel confident saying this is the most progress that we've made thus far. And I think we're all very pleased with what we're seeing. Brad, to you and your team, thank you for all the work, all the late nights, all the hours, and all the redos that we've gone through trying to make this the strongest model that we can. From an outside look, we can talk about all the different changes that we've made, but just off the cuff, you can see now we're looking at a lot more brick, a lot of glass. The exterior of the building is now really starting to look like phase 1. It's really starting to mesh well together, and you can roll through those as we go. We don't have to stand on any one of those, but you're looking at the eastern main entrance, so that would be the high school entry point. As families come in around the building, that would be that high school entry. As we place that. I guess I can do that, can I? I can do that. As we spent time talking about the career and technical side of the school, we wanted to make sure that it had a very pronounced entryway. So you can see the signage over to the left-hand side. That's the Center for Career and Enterprise, where a lot of members of our business industry community, they'll go in to be a larger part of our career and technical programs. That's the view that our kids will see the most. That's the internal courtyard. I guess right now from our, I guess that'd be the southern corner looking back across the courtyard. That's the kind of look
Is that
that
where
we've
the weight
been.
room is?
Sir?
Like if you were looking out where the weight room is?
Right now, that would be where that fitness center is, looking
Okay.
back across the
Okay.
courtyard, yes, sir. So that's the kind of imagery that we've wanted to show our families, show our kids. I think that's a look that we're all going to be very proud of, and we're going to go forward tomorrow and try and flesh that out even further. So, Brad, again, thank you for all your work. And you've got current blushes of the floor plan. We'll continue to address that tomorrow. We're going to try and look at utilities, try and make sure that's as efficient as we can tomorrow, and then we'll spend some time in the board work session in August looking at that a little bit further. Wanted to catch you up with where we stood there. In the packet that you have, you also have some pictures, some of the projects that we've been working on over the summer. Talking with Jeremy today, trying to get the most updated number that I could, in addition to the day-to-day operations, the maintenance, the work orders, the work that our men and women do. They've completed now approaching almost 130 special projects over the summer. And that, Jeremy, over the last couple of weeks, we've been anywhere from plumbing to paving to resurfacing of parking lots, a lot of earthwork trying to improve. We're going to talk about that. That is in the middle of one of our elementary schools. We found that we had a water leak under the slab, and we corrected that as quickly as we could. It only took about 6 guys digging about 8 feet down to get there, but we got there. The projects that a lot of us don't think about what it takes to make school work. See, pictures aren't just worth 1,000 words. They're worth they're worth a lot of words. But you need to know the quality of work that our support services are providing. It's, if you've walked the halls of any of our buildings over the summer, we tried a new approach to how we're going to clean those buildings over the summer, and they worked in platoons going through together. I've never seen our schools look this shiny, this strong. I talked to a lot of our supervisors this past Friday trying to get ready for today's conversation. They were very excited, saying we're ready to have school with some cleanup and a little bit of few things that we'd still like to wrap up. I can't brag enough about our people. So you've also got some pictures of some of the larger projects that we're still trying to wrap up. If you've been by Central in the last few days, it's starting to take shape. We're excited about that and still very hopeful that we'll have that wrapped up in time for all of our kids to get here. And it's timely in the fact that they're trying to rework Huntsville, so we can make all of that tie together. A lot of parking improvements around the district over the summer, a lot of paving improvements over the summer. Energy management as we go forward, still trying to clean that up. We're going to begin the assessment and reassessment of all of our current buildings in the fall, trying to map out that next master plan. How can we continue to improve building systems? What are our next projects? We're moving forward. I'm very, very proud of our projects. Sir?
Where are the fencing projects going on?
Let's see. I know that you've got one example, and I'm going to have to step up here with you. You've got an example there of Homegrown. Okay. And that is over at Covington. And
Just
our
a layer of
people
security.
Just another layer of security, trying to beef up our building's exterior. And those fences are made in-house by a team of our gentlemen.
Oh, really?
So they're built from stock parts, and they're installed and painted.
That's awesome.
They look fantastic.
Cool.
Excited about the last few days we have of summer. We're going to be ready for school.
It's almost here.
Cut a little more grass late July than you
Little-
usually would, aren't you?
Well, you know, it depends on where you look across the district. It depends on who got rain and who didn't, but we're going to get it all cleaned up. We didn't get to visit about athletic facilities. I know we're all excited about bringing those baseball, softball facilities forward, getting our track completed at Springdale High. We're going to continue to work on the baseball, softball complexes over the fall and get those ready for play in the spring. We're bringing it forward together.
Had a great visit with a group of alumni just in the last few days who were at Springdale High School. They walked out on the new track at Springdale High School and couldn't wait to make a call. They gave me a call from that setting. They were so proud of what happened at the school.
Are we still looking at softball and baseball, going ahead and getting lights and concessions?
Yes, sir. We're trying to move forward so that those are game-ready, playable fields when the seasons start.
So when that happens, will then HAR-BER no longer play at Harvest, or is that still gonna?
The plan would be they'll play at their home fields.
Okay.
I'm sure there'll be some back and forth. They love the Harvest experience too, but the problem that they struggled with was the daily travel from their campus to the city fields, et cetera. And the city fields gotten so crowded, it was time for us to have our own. So
I agree. Yeah.
y'all were great to give us that endorsement.
Yes, sir. And I know we'll spend a lot of time on this in our work session, but just current state of events. That's where we stand today.
Good job. Good job.
Good evening, Board. Dr. Rollins.
No comment from me.
I only have 2 items for you this evening. The first is the monthly building projects updates. You can see that the 3 projects listed there are virtually all complete. We're down to just a little retainage on all 3 of those. So whenever all the checklist is marked and good, we'll pay out that little bit of retainage. Any questions on that? All right. The next item I have for you is the financial report for the month of June. I will tell you that we are still making a few adjustments to this, but this is virtually complete. When we get to the end of June, it opens up what's called period 13, and so if we have any invoices, for example, that come in that are June invoices, we are still able to put those back into the month of June so that they fall in the month where the expense was incurred. But we have pretty much, I think I've pretty much included the majority of those that we've already paid. We're just seeing a trickle, very few at this point. So let me just kind of share with you kind of how we ended up for the year. In looking at the revenue report, our local taxes, the first 4 or 5 lines on the revenue page, it's about $1 million more than what I have budgeted. So that's an awesome thing. The crazy thing about these taxes, though, is that if people pay ahead, then likely it's going to hit us the following year. So it's a good thing, but I'm always cautiously optimistic about that. So I'll be studying that as we move forward. And then you can, of course, you know, about halfway down that page, student growth, we didn't budget for that, so that's another $1.8 million that came in that was not budgeted. Good thing. So that's on the revenue side. Now, if we could look at the expenditure page for just a moment. On the teacher salary fund, you can see that we were slightly ahead of, or actually right a percentage point ahead of where we landed last year, but that still left close to $2 million remaining in our teacher salary fund that we had budgeted that we did not expend. On the operating fund, you can see actually it's the other way. We only spent a little over 90% of what was budgeted, so that equates to about $5.5 million that was budgeted that was not spent. And then finally on the debt service, just as a reminder to you, the budget there was $9.5 million. You know, when we refunded those bonds several years ago, it resulted in $10 million of savings, and that $10 million was going to be $6 million in the first year, which was last year, $2 million this year, and $2 million next year. So the way I think about it is our payment is around $12 million a year. So it was only 9.5 this year, so I had budgeted a fund transfer for the difference there so that we could be sure and have that money reserved and not tied up in ongoing obligations when we do need it to make our debt payment. So one more year will be like this, and then we'll be back up to around the $12 million mark from there on out. So the combination of the taxes coming in heavier than we had budgeted, the student growth, which we had not budgeted, the savings in both teacher salary and operating fund, and then the $2 million that from the refunding that we were able to transfer, we were able to do a significant transfer to the building fund for this year. So I'll be happy to go into further detail or answer any questions you may have.
I do have a question. I know that the article in the paper the other day about the change in assessment, specifically as it relates to the Northwest Arkansas Mall.
Right.
Are there other lingering cases like that, or people that are that significant that are contesting assessments that, you know, you have to ponder as you're preparing budgets and things like that?
That's the only one that the county assessor has made us aware of.
Okay.
Dr. Rollins, are you aware of any others?
I'm very worried about what we're seeing happening in corporate Northwest Arkansas with this shuttered facility approach. We work very closely with area poultry producers a year ago, and they were looking at a significant reduction as a result of this new approach that they were fostering. They kind of pulled back from that, and they've not come back to it just yet, but I think that's exactly the kind of thing you're referencing. It could surface again. I will say Tyson Foods was great. We explained to them how that approach could work against the schools. We asked them not to do it, and they pulled it back. And that is a major salute to that corporation. They didn't want to do anything to hurt our schools, and they made that adjustment. I hope that's the example that others might follow.
So the mall hurt us by what, about $250,000?
No, I don't believe that was reported quite correctly. I would have to put a pencil to it, but that seemed a little steep to me.
Yeah.
And I believe that what we're seeing there is the impact of online purchasing these days. You know, people are buying things you would go to the mall for, they're going online and buying it. And so that's probably going to continue.
And at this point, we don't see where that's coming back to us from another direction.
No.
Because so much of the online purchase is completely untaxed.
That's correct. Well, and that's correct, but also the online purchasing has no property assessment here. So
Here.
That's right. That's right.
It does somewhere.
It sure does. But yes. So it's very concerning. We have been seeing a steady growth as in the property assessment, as y'all have seen, of around 2 to 3%. Springdale has not been increasing quite the extent that Fayetteville has, lagging a little bit there, but it is an increase. So obviously when the mall or someone has theirs lowered, then that's going to have an impact on what our increase might have been.
What would something, or were there concessions made for the children's hospital? Is that something that would help us?
I believe that's a tax exempt facility.
Okay.
They're a nonprofit.
Do we know what Sam's helped, how it helped?
It should help us.
It should. I don't know exactly what it's listed on our assessment as, but yes, it's a taxable entity.
And will the improvements downtown help us? I noticed that San Jose block, they got it finally completely screened.
It should. It certainly should.
Depends on what goes in there.
Right. I would think it would, though. Yeah.
Yeah, the Walton family did it, so.
I'll make a motion that we accept the financial report as presented by Mr. Hayes.
A motion by Mr. Hutchinson, a second by Mrs. Cook to accept the monthly financial as presented. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Thank you.
Can I just add something real quick? I mean, I don't think we need to just skip over the fact of what a great job you've done. When we can invest in the building fund the way, because of some good management, and that's everybody. I know it's not just you, and you're the one that's standing here now, but when it gives us the flexibility to be able to invest in some other projects for the future, man, that is huge. And when you look at your $8 million under your budget on our operating fund, I know it's tough to control teacher salary. We got to get folks in front of our kids, but that operating fund, I know you have to sacrifice some stuff when you're $8 million under budget, and so I appreciate everybody doing that, and it's a great opportunity to put some money
Gives us flexibility
for a rainy day, and when we need it. So, good job.
Thank you.
Mr. President, I believe that concludes our agenda for
Okay,
this
we are
evening, and I know we need to adjourn to executive
Yeah, we're
session.
going to adjourn executive session to discuss the appointment of a public official.